over here to Gbutterfly. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I appreciate you coming over. We talk about various topics that I find interesting. I'll bring up the topics and the chat will just talk about the chat. Talk about the topics and we'll move on to the next one. We're never on here for a long time. We talk about what we need to talk about and get off because I know all of y'all are busy. But I like to come over here and just have a good time with the people in my chat. I love to laugh, so I do a lot of that. We have a lot of topics we're going to talk about today. I write them down. Again, I talk about them and we get on off TikTok and we let it go into the next day. All right, Dominic. Oh, it's so many people coming in. Doing well, thank you. So many people are coming in. Thank you for coming to Gbutterfly TV. We're going to talk about maybe 7 topics today. Hey, Angela Callis, thank you for coming over. Once I throw those topics out there, you let me know what you think about them in the chat and we'll keep it moving. And it's just going to be some lighthearted fun over here. No drama, but I will block you real fast. The people in the chat to tell you. Okay, one of the top stories I think that's on everybody's social media right now and on all of the sports stations is regarding the Houston Texans. Excuse me. They've hired a new head coach, and the head coach is formerly the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, and his name is D'Amico or D'Amico. I don't know how it's pronounced. D'Amico or D'Amico Ryan. And I think he signed a 6-year deal with the Texans. And the owner, Mr. McNair, because I can't remember his first name, so I'm going to just say Mr. McNair. He said that they wanted to hire a coach who was going to be good for the city, who the fans were really going to like, and they went with D'Amico Ryan. He was a former player for the Texans. And they said that he did really well as a defensive coordinator. But he was also being looked at to be a head coach at three other teams. The 3 other teams that was looking for D'Amico Ryan to potentially lead their team as the head coach was the Denver Broncos, Jacksonville Panthers, and I hope it is Jacksonville Panthers. I was just trying to go off memory, and the Indianapolis Colts. So unfortunate for them, but fortunate for the Texans, we have D'Amico, and we're going to wish him well, and I really hope he does an awesome job with the Texans. They had a horrible season this season. You know, they let Coach Lovey go just like overnight. Boop, they just let him go. I was like, well, damn. Do you think head coaches get unemployment? What y'all think about that? When you coach for the NFL, do you think they can apply for unemployment? Somebody out there in social media land, let me know. Oh yeah, it is. It's cold in Harris County too. If you know anything about the NFL and the professional sports arena, because I got 23 people in the chat, so somebody out there might know. If a head coach is fired, do you think they can apply for unemployment? I really would like to know. If anybody out there know, maybe I can Google it tomorrow to find out if a head coach who's terminated from his position is able to apply for unemployment. But I wonder what people just assume. Well, they shouldn't have to apply for unemployment. They make millions a year. Anybody like that in the chat think that? Hey, Leah, Christy Clark, thanks for coming over. Let me know where you're watching us from. Do you think that since they make the amount of money that they make, that they should not be able to apply for unemployment once they're terminated from their position? Why did the Scarecrow get a promotion? Calm sounds. Calm sounds. Where is that question coming from? You trying to throw the chat off? That's not going to work over here. We're going to stay on our topics. Now, at the end, when I'm finished with all my topics, if we have time, we may circle back around to the Scarecrow and their promotion. Now, see, you asked the question, then turned right around a half a second later and gave the answer. So did you really want people to answer, or were you just trying to get a little attention and just show that you were in the chat and wanted to tell us a quick little joke? Knock, knock. Who's there? Calm sounds. You're trying to throw us off, but we're not going to let you today. But anyway, let's keep it moving. All right, so we were talking about the Texans. Let's just hope that D'Amico is able to do an awesome job with the Texans next year, and he's able to take them to the playoffs and potentially to the Super Bowl. Alrighty, so we're going to get on to one more. Excuse me. How many of you are R&B fans? I've been a fan of Brian McKnight for as long as I can remember. Brian McKnight is a soulful singer. His brothers also performed with a group called Take 6. And I don't think he's ever been in a group. He's always pretty much been solo. But Brian McKnight has a real smooth, silky voice. And to this day, he still sounds just as good as he did, say, 25, 30 years ago. All right, Mobile, Alabama, thanks for coming in. Well, Brian McKnight, and I know he has to be maybe 56-ish, somewhere in that range. And he just had a newborn baby with his current wife. And his current wife have two adult children. And they just had a newborn baby. But if you've been following Brian McKnight for any amount of time, you know that he has two adult sons that he had with his first wife. And I believe her name is Julie. His former wife. I believe her name is Julie. And several years ago, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, on the internet there was a big story regarding him and his sons, how his sons was breaking into his house stealing things, and they were talking a lot of trash about Brian McKnight on the internet, was saying that he pretty much just cut them off, and he was saying that they were grown men, they was pretty much going to have to make it on their own. But I say that to say this: I wasn't following Brian on Instagram within the last maybe 2 years. And somehow his Instagram came across my news feed. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I say, let me follow Brian McKnight. Because again, I've always been a big fan of his music. Well, I noticed that in his post, he only posts about his current wife. And I think she's Hawaiian. And she was a nurse in Hawaii or something like that. And she has two children. In his post, he only talks about her two children and how she's the best wife that he's ever had. You know, he's only had one other wife, Julie. And how these children that he have is the best son, the best daughter, how he do anything. They have this magnificent family. And you can go post after post after post after post after. You can just go down the line on his post. And you would never know that he had those first two sons with his first wife. And if you follow Brian McKnight, if you go in and just put Brian McKnight Jr., you can find his son's Instagram page. His voice, he almost sounds better than his dad, and that's the honest to God truth. And I'm a big Brian McKnight fan. But if you go on Instagram, you can find his son's page, and you can even find a link to the brothers' page, because it's BJ, Brian, and what is the other young man? Nico. It's Brian and Nico. Those are the two McKnight sons from Brian McKnight with his first wife. And his first wife is also a performer as well, and she has a very pretty voice. Well, if you follow those two boys, you'll see their life with Brian has grandchildren, all of that. But if you follow his Instagram, you would think that those first two sons do not exist. And he only has this current wife, her two children, and not a child that they have together. So I said all of that to say, what do you think would make a man totally disregard his first family and only focus on his second family? In the chat, tell me, what do you think causes that? Well, maybe this is more so for the men that may be still in my chat. I got 18 people in the chat, so maybe the men are still there. What do you think would make a man totally act like the first family don't exist and only focus on his second family? Unthinkable. Motorcycle. Do you know people were looking for you in the chat the last day or two? They were like, where's Motorcycle? He ain't been in here. I thought maybe you did something and they put you on 24-hour lockdown and you just couldn't get to your phone. So that's what I was thinking, Motorcycle, but I'm glad to see you back. Whatever you did, don't do nothing else where they'll lock you up for bad behavior. We want you to be able to come in over here and talk to us on Gbutterfly TV. And I also need you to put in the chat and let me know, were you able to get to those guys in that cell block A? Because you were in B. I needed you to get to the guys in cell block C. And I told you on Sunday, I needed you to get to the people on cell block A. Did you talk to them and tell them how to find Gbutterfly TV on TikTok, and also how to hide their phone under them flat mattresses y'all sleep on so that they can actually watch the TV, watch Gbutterfly TV? That's what I need to know. Yeah, Angela Callis, he back. Look at him saying, hey, he back. I'm telling you, they was looking for you, Motorcycle, because you had us laughing over here about that prison life. Do they live in the same state? Now that I'm not certain. I think his first family lives in California, in that area, I think, but I'm not certain. And I think at one time, I think him and his wife was living in possibly in Hawaii, but they travel a lot. The ex-wife maybe, but I don't understand his children unless they all turned against him. You probably could go back on social media and try to find it. It all happened, I know, about maybe 4 years ago, when all of this stuff came out of regarding his sons, and how somebody, I think the sons broke into his house, and they were saying that he pretty much cut them off financially. And I haven't heard him say anything about them. And again, if you go look at Brian McKnight's social media page on Instagram, you would never know that he had a family before the one that he had. They tripping. Oh, that's what it is. All right, Motorcycle. We know it had to be something why you wasn't in here talking to us. What made you come up with this? You mean what made me come up with this particular topic? Conscious? Is that what you're saying? Your eyes tell a story. What story do you think they tell? I came up with this topic because every day I just find things that are interesting to me. And if it's interesting to me, when I come on my channel, I just talk about it. And the people in my chat chit chat back and forth with me about. But that's how I do it over here. I try to have something to say when I come on. I don't want to come on and just be rambling about everything and nothing. And I can't hold anybody's attention. So I actually find topics that I find interesting. And the people who stay up here with me and watch me, I guess they find it interesting as well. Carolina, I don't know. Oh, if they broke into his house, that's crazy. I would stop the relationship too. That's dangerous. And he was saying, hey, y'all are grown. And okay, at what point do you cut the ties on your kids and stop giving them everything? Now, you would have to know that these kids had to have grown up privileged. Their dad has been a huge entertainer for as long as he's been around. And I want to say at least 30 years Brian McKnight has been a huge entertainer. So those kids probably lived a very privileged life. So let's just say when they were, let's just say 26. I'm going to just throw an age out there. Let's just say when they made 26 and the other son could have been possibly 28. Do you think Brian had got to the point where he said, you know what, y'all are adult men now and you have to go to school. If you went to school, now you have to get a job. You have to find a way to provide for yourself, and not solely depend on me. Now, let's just say because he know they were raised privileged, let's just say he said, okay, get your job. And maybe he was still giving them a monthly stipend. But if they wasn't doing anything, maybe he decided to just cut the stipend off as well. So at what point do you cut him off? No reason to break in his house, though. I agree. Now, I agree. There was no reason to break into your parents' house. I think that's wrong. McKnight split up. Split up from what? He has been divorced from his first wife for many, 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 many years. He's married to a new lady now. How do you ever come up with the decision, leave your family and all, no excuses? You know what? I don't. He divorced his first wife, or she divorced him. I don't know which way it went or who filed first, but they are divorced, and this happened many years ago. He's currently married to a new lady that has 2 adult children, and those are the only 2 children that he talk about on his social media. And now they just had a newborn baby, like within the last 2, 3, 4 days. Maybe he's trying to give them some space to apologize to him for. It's possible he could be trying to give him a little space, but that's a whole lot of space because it's been a couple of years. I know at least 3 or 4 years, if not longer. It could have been longer than that. Either way, they need to get there. They need to repair their relationship. You never know how long you have. That's really true. You know, we wake up today and be dead this evening. How old are his first 2? They might be, I don't know, maybe 30 and 28, 31, 33, somewhere in that range. They're full grown men now. And they were grown at the time that all of this happened. But you would never know he had any other children but his 2 children, well, her 2 children with the lady he's married to now, and now this new baby. Pretty much just letting everybody know that I have my own platform. I'm trying to build my platform so that I can encourage other people to be expressive and find their own platform. Good evening. Restraining orders should be strongly enforced. Yep, I wouldn't allow that kind of energy around me anymore either. I wouldn't trust them. Yeah, it's hard to trust somebody who tried to rob you. But then it's that fine line because that's your child. You know what I mean? Nobody wants their kids to break into their house, to rob them. Nobody wants any of that with their children. So I can see, well, you know what, I'm going to call the police because you're robbing me, blah, blah, blah. But that fine emotional line, that's what I'm saying. There's an emotional line, but man, it has to be hard. Okay, I've been with my husband for so many years and he's never met my 33-year-old daughter's dad. That's different. But he's met your 33-year-old daughter, right? I can assume. But you're saying that he never met the dad. That is not unusual. I like the turtleneck. Well, thank you very much, Aaron Javon. I love turtlenecks. Turtlenecks are classic. They will never, ever, 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 ever go out of style. And I love turtlenecks. I cut my youngest sibling off for stealing from my house. Okay, I can see that. Nobody wants anybody to steal from them. You know, that's just a complete invasion. That's horrible. I don't care who it is. Children kill their parents all the time. Yeah, conscious they do. I still love them, but I didn't allow them back in my house for years. Yeah, you can always love somebody from afar. Fix your lashes. You keep popping on in my chat saying fix your lashes. So are you talking to me, or are you just trying to get attention to your page possibly because you actually do lashes? Is that what that is? Just let me know. Are you trying to advertise your business that you do lashes? Because the way it's reading, like you're telling me to fix my lashes. So let me know. Explain that a little bit. Fix your lashes in the comments. Oh, I don't understand. Remember what happened to Marvin Gaye? Oh yeah, his daddy killed him. Did anybody? Oh, thanks, Crystal. I don't even know how you did that. Did anybody ever read the Marvin Gaye's book? If you have an opportunity, read Marvin Gaye's. I think it's a biography, not an autobiography, but the story was amazing. Amazing. If you ever have the opportunity, like I love to read, love to read. And I think that came from back when I was a little bitty kid and learned how to read. I would read everything from the back of the cereal boxes. I would read the newspaper from front to back every single day as a child. I was just inquisitive, always loved to read, always wanted to know. Excuse me. Always wanted to know. So I've always read books. I still read books now. I just read ebooks in my phone. It's just a little bit easier, and I can always read them on the go. And I love R&B music, so I always tend to read a lot of books about singers. There's one. Now I've read Beyonce's. Hers is really good. Marvin Gaye's is good. If you get an opportunity, you need to read the book. What's his name? Rick James. Yeah, Rick James. Isn't it funny how I had to say that just so I can remember his name? Rick James autobiography. Oh, it was a biography. Rick James is so good. Thank you, Chris. I don't know how you're doing that, but thank you. Rick James, if you get a chance, read his book. And somebody else I know yesterday we were talking about soap operas and the different stories. If it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. We were talking about the different soap operas. Well, if any of you looked at All My Children, way back in the day, All My Children had, what was the couple? Angie and Jesse. Well, if you have an opportunity, read Angie's, her name is Debbie Morgan. Read her autobiography. Phenomenal. Very good story. I didn't read so many. I probably can name off tons of them that I've read, but I love to read. Anybody else in here really like to read? Let me know in the comments if you like to read. See, these comments going so fast. My husband raised my daughter. Her dad was bad to me. You had to cut people off. Yeah, and sometimes you have to do that for your sanity. 50% off, okay. I'm kind of behind on the comments. I'm scrolling through them really quick to catch back up. I love this. His autobiography was hilarious. Which one, Crystal? I clicked on it and don't know what it does either. Oh, okay. So if somebody else can click on those telescopes and click on the stars, I don't know what that means. But they said to encourage y'all to do it in my live. Yeah, Rick James was good. Rick James was wow. When I read his book, from the very first 2 or 3 pages, you already knew that book was getting ready to be off the chains. But I followed a wife on Instagram. Not his wife, I'm sorry. I followed his ex-wife, Julie, because she does performances. So sometimes I like to just scroll through and look at her performances. But she's getting ready to release a book. I said, I got to buy that book because I'm a huge Brian McKnight fan. But she may be able to give us some more insight on what was her life like with him. He deserved to be happy. We all deserve to be happy. I agree with you 100% conscious. Everybody deserves to be happy. So if you're with somebody and you're unhappy, let them people go so that they can find happiness and you can find happiness because you deserve it. We just talked about our first 2 topics. We talked about the Texans got a new head coach, Mr. Demeco Ryan from the 49ers. He was the defensive coordinator. But the Texans going to do an official announcement on Thursday. Who hit you in your face? What? Zeke Washington 828. What do you mean? Who hit me in my face? What are you talking about? Explain that a little bit more. That way I can answer you. He played for the Texans. Yeah, he was a Texan player, and then he went on to coach. And he was a defensive coordinator for the 49ers, but they just hired him as the franchise coach for the Texans. But did you know that 3 other teams were in talks with him to be their head coach as well, Dr. DC? He was in talks with the Denver Broncos, the Jacksonville Panthers, and the Indianapolis Colts. All 3 teams were looking at him. Page over there, his ex-wife might give more insight or more lies or character assassination. Well, everybody's going to tell their version of the truth. He has his truth, she has her truth, and the real truth might lie somewhere right there in the middle. So I think she's going to tell their story from her perspective. Like we all tell the story from our perspective. Dr. DCVA, you gave me another telescope. The goal tonight was to get 14 telescopes. I got 14 telescopes, but I don't even know what any of that means. That was just a recommendation from TikTok. Okay, see, because sometimes they'll come in and say something flip just to get my attention. Sometimes people are delusional when telling their part because they can't have their way. A lot of people are like that. Again, everybody's going to tell the story from their vantage point. Everybody's going to tell you from their perspective because they want to sway your decision or whatever it is they're trying to get you to see their point. They're going to do it so that you can see it from their perspective. I'm new. Yeah, I know you knew. That's why I say, well, who are you talking about? But anyway, I guess he could have been talking about this possibly or this possibly. And since you're kind of new, you don't know. That's why I was saying, well, what are you actually trying to say? Talking to the guy, not to you. When he was asking that, I was hit by a drunk driver almost 2 weeks ago, and this is from the wreck. So if he say who hit you in your face, that's why I wanted to know. Okay, is he trying to be funny, or is he basing it on this that you can kind of see in my face? Because that's from the wreck. So I was just wondering, because sometimes they'll get on here and act real stupid, and you know what I give them? What is it? DM Rondell. I'm good at the block. That way they don't come back over here with that foolishness. They still look nice. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm starting to feel more like my regular self. I still have bruises that y'all just can't see, but I feel more like myself. I'm really glad because the inside of my mouth was all jacked up. So that's feeling better. When I smile, my smile is still a little crooked, but it's better and it's starting to look like it used to prior to the wreck. If y'all out there and drinking, please don't drink and drive. You can take somebody's life. Please don't do that. Please, please, please be considerate when you have your drinks and cocktails or whatever you're going to have. Get an Uber, have somebody else drive, but don't drink and drive. Because, this has been a long 2 weeks and I ain't even made it to the second Friday yet. This Friday just passed, made a week. And this will be the second week. It's been a lot. That first week I was off work. I done got all off topic because I got a whole list of stuff I want to talk about. But that first week, I was all busted up. But I thank God. If y'all go on my page for TikTok, I have a little bitty short snippet of, I think I put a picture of the car that hit me. The guy who was driving. There's a picture of the car and you can tell which one it is because there's a stretcher on a little thumbnail. So I can go through and look at everybody's thumbnail. There's one with the stretcher. That's the one that actually shows a picture of his car after he hit me. So yeah, I do feel better. I don't feel 100%, but I do feel better. I'm just glad my mouth is feeling better because I was talking funny. And if you know me or if you've been watching my videos for a while, you were able to tell that I sound different and my mouth was moving different. And I had to eat different. Oh, it was a mess, but I feel better. Lady did a post and she said that she quit speaking to her mother-in-law because she says that they're not compatible. And she went on to say that she was a Sagittarius, which I thought was very odd for her to just throw that out there. And then she followed up and said, because the grandmother is a deadbeat. So what did the Sagittarius have to do with anything? That comment right there I thought was very random. And she says that the grandmother abandoned her grandkids because she doesn't like her daughter-in-law. Have any of y'all ever experienced in-laws who just didn't like you? And who decided to just not fool with your kids because they didn't like you? Y'all see my cute butterfly cup? Isn't that cute? That's cute, huh? My mama got this butterfly cup for me today. Because, yesterday I had a red cup with a straw and I was drinking my Simply Lemonade. And she got me this with the butterflies. I said, okay, well, if I want to drink something, if I'm thirsty while I'm doing my TikTok lives, I use my butterfly cup. And Bria, I looked into it. It's the Simply Tropical Punch that they have, and that's somebody's suing them about, not the lemonade. I bumped heads with my mother-in-law, but I've never kept her from my kids. I wouldn't go out of my way to take them to her. I would just say, you know where they are. Okay, well, she can come over and see them or to come and pick them up. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, she said that they weren't compatible. And I was thinking, do you really need to be compatible with your mother-in-law? That made no sense to me. And she said, and I'm a Sagittarius. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? Unless she's heavily into astrology and she followed the astrological charts to see who she's compatible with and just know that she's not compatible with the mother-in-law. That's all I could come up with. But I was thinking, okay, if she has this rift with her mother-in-law, can you only imagine? Now, let's just say that the mother-in-law has a really good relationship with her son. Can you imagine the tension between the husband and wife with regard to the mother-in-law, or the mother and the son with regard to the daughter-in-law? That has to be a stressful situation. When I was married, I did have a good relationship with my mother-in-law. She treated me like I was her own daughter. So I don't know. I don't know that. Sagittarius are crazy. Oh, really, Zeke? You done dealt with some? It sounds like she mad at the mother-in-law, wouldn't keep the kids. It's possible. It's possible. But if the mother-in-law anything like me, she got a life and got things to do, places to go, and people to see. So I don't know. Just imagine. We talked about how stressful it can be between the husband and the wife, or the son and the mother. Can you imagine how those kids sitting in the middle and they have to feel some of this tension? Or you never know what's being said in front of those kids. I said, can you imagine how they may feel? I said, oh, poor things. Because the mama and the mother-in-law can't get along. I have a daughter-in-law. She and my son recently got married, but she's been with him for quite a while. And I wouldn't do anything to try to jeopardize that relationship because I want my son to be happy. And plus, I said good girl. She's a grown woman, but she's a good girl. And I wouldn't want to do anything with anyone to jeopardize my relationship with my grandkids. That's the most important thing to me. If everybody's an adult, I can get along with my daughter-in-law. That wouldn't be a problem. You just get along with who you need to get along with if that's the case. But I would not want to do anything to jeopardize that relationship where it would affect my grandkids. I couldn't imagine doing that. I really couldn't. We just have to get along. And but I'm the type, I give everybody equal opportunity to just be who they are, and I accept people as they are. So that makes it a lot easier. I'm sorry, when you accept people how they are and not expect them to be what you want them to be. Mother-in-law don't like her. The mother-in-law may not like her. Maybe that's why she say she a Sagittarius and she a deadbeat. 1 and 1. But she said they wasn't compatible. But I just still can't understand why you need to be compatible with the mother-in-law. That's crazy to me. I don't understand it. Anybody else ever had issues with their mother-in-law? Or any men out there have had issues with their father-in-law? The mother-in-law could be overprotective. Possibly. I can see that. As a mother of 2 sons, I can see that. And sometimes parents can see things before their children see it just because of life experiences that we've had. We may be able to see something and be, that ain't gonna work. Oh no. Or tell the daughter, that man not good for you. Or tell the son, that woman is not good for you. Because we can already see where it's going. But you gotta let them just find their own way. The parents can see things long before the children can, and can spot it out and know it's gonna happen before it starts happening. But you have to just let them have a space to live their life and find out. Although you don't want them, but sometimes you just gotta let them go through. Yes, ma'am, from the experiences. Yes, I mean, as long as we keep waking up and living every day, nothing that the kid gonna go through that we have not experienced or know somebody who already experienced, and we can already see. We can already say, oh, they're gonna go straight down that road, then they're gonna turn to the left, bam, bump their head right as soon as they hit that left. We already know, but we gotta let them do it. And it's hard sometimes as a parent to let your kids bump their head. That's real hard, but sometimes you got to. You gotta let them live their life. And even though it can be heartbreaking for you as a parent because you know what they are getting ready to go through. But unfortunately, sometimes you just gotta let them bump their head. And sometimes that's the best teacher. All right, this is the next little topic I saw. Actually, it was just a post on Instagram. And when I saw it, I had to laugh because I think we're all guilty of this in some shape or fashion. The man said that he took his 8-year-old daughter to work with him on Bring Your Child to Work Day. Do y'all remember? Now, this is off topic. But do y'all remember years ago, my son is 33, back when he was about 6 maybe, Back then, we used to have bring your child to work day. It used to be one day, and you bring your child to work with you, and they go through and do everything that you would do throughout the day. And I can remember I did it once because they have to be a certain age, like 6 or 7 or somewhere like that. So when my son made the age, my oldest son, when he made the age that I can take him, I took him, and then they discontinued it like the next year. So I never got a chance to take my youngest son. But it was take your kids to work day. Anybody else remember doing something like that? Oh, but look, you see how I got all nostalgic? Now, the guy said he took his 8-year-old daughter with him to work. And he said he took his 8-year-old daughter, and as the day progressed, his daughter started crying. And he started asking the daughter, "Why are you crying? Why are you crying?" She said, "But where are all the clowns you say you work with?" I cracked up when I read that, because that just goes to show how he go home and talk about his coworkers and don't realize how much his daughter is really absorbing what he's saying. I thought that was hilarious when I read it. I saying that's just the innocence of a child, because they'll hear their parents talking and take it literally and don't realize that he's just being irritated with his coworker and say, I work with all these damn clowns. You know what I mean? That's probably what he's going home and say, "Oh, this clown I work with, blah, 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 blah. And I had to go sit down in the meeting with this clown and blah, 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 blah." And the 8-year-old girl is no more the wiser. She's not understanding. So when she's getting ready for go to work on my dad day, she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna see clowns." And the inside, this little girl probably just building it up. I'm gonna see clowns. I'm so excited. I'm excited. She go to work and just see regular people around the water cooler. Parents will start saying stuff in front of their kids and not realize the kids are actually believing what they're saying. I was like, man, I thought that was funny. So when I started, I said, I'm going to have to tell that to my people over there when I get to TikTok this afternoon. You know what I saw today? And I say, these people going to get tired of cutting up and acting a fool on these airplanes. Thank you, Zeke. You know what? You say I'm cool, but I just try to be me. That's all I can be, is just Gbutterfly. That's it. What you see is who I am every single day. I wake up. This is who I am. I'm not doing anything different. Not at all. Now, there was a lady on a flight that got so upset, just distraught, got to screaming and hollering and crying, falling all out. They had to have all of the, what you call those people, the airline stewardess, everybody going to her and checking to see what's going on. She cutting the whole fool because her boyfriend broke up with her while they was on a plane. Now, she risked going to jail and getting on the no-fly list because she upset because her boyfriend quit her. Well, do they still say quit? I'm showing my age when I say that, huh? That's what they used to say. "Ooh, she quit me. I'm going to quit him." Do people still say that? But that's what happened to her. And she cut a fool on the airplane. Was that really worth it? Because now she may be on the no-fly zone. I'm not a school teacher in a regular school. I have taught before, but it was at a, what would you call that? Because I would go and do it part-time after my regular job. I taught like billing and coding at a, I don't even know I don't even remember what was the name of the school, but I did it for several months. But you know what? Although I love the money, I'm not cut off to work 2 jobs. I'm like, I ain't had no time, and I was tired. I said, oh no. And when it got to the point I would get my check and see all the extra money that I made from part-time teaching over there, but I was so tired and I couldn't find energy to get me to go spend the money. I said, oh no, it's not worth it. And that let me know that my time is priceless. So even making extra money, if you are too tired to spend it, is it even worth it? So I said, I let that go. Were they together on a plane, or did he do it over the phone? That's what they really didn't say. So I don't know if he was texting her, if he was calling her, or if she was sitting right next to him, because she kept standing up, falling all over, and everybody was trying to help her. You couldn't really see because they really didn't pan the people right around her. So I couldn't tell. I can only assume maybe he did it over the phone, because I think if he had did it and she was sitting right there, she would have been more turned around to the person, because she was on the aisle seat. So that meant 2 other people were next to her. And when she was up, she was standing up and kind of just falling like this, just cutting up. And I would think if he was sitting on this side and he broke up with her, she would have been more facing this way, trying to talk to him, work it out, or whatever she was doing. But I was like, what in the whole world? And if he was sitting in this seat right there, what's wrong with him? He should have been sitting on the outside seat and she on the inside. But that's just how I think. That don't necessarily mean that's what everybody thinks. I agree. I agree, and I love that money I was making part time. But I say, ooh, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Like they say on TikTok, get somebody else to do it. You know how when you're in church, sometimes the pastor say, I ain't gonna hold you long, and they be lying. You still be in there 3 more hours. I don't know if this particular story I'm getting ready to talk about is the same young lady we talked about 2 days ago who was beating up her teacher. This could be another incident. Excuse me. This might be the same incident. This could be another incident. When I was trying to watch the video, they had it blurred out and I really couldn't see. And you didn't have the sound. You were more so listening to the newscasters talking about the story that I'm getting ready to talk about. So I don't know if this is the same story. But remember 2 days ago, I talked about the young lady who was in the classroom. And the teacher kept holding her off like this, saying, don't put your hands on me, don't put your hands on me. But ultimately, they started fighting because the student was hitting the teacher. Well, I don't know if the same story, if this is the same story, but in Georgia, there was a high school student who right now is facing charges after she attacked her teacher, and I think she was only 15 because the teacher, when she fell to the ground, is suffering from a broken leg. I'm at work enjoying the show and good topics. Okay, good. I like to always come up with different type of topics. I try to find something for everybody. I try to throw some sports, some current events, just different things. I try to find something that I think, well, that I'm interested in, number one, but that I think other people will be interested in. But yeah, that teacher now has a broken leg. Again, I don't know if this is the same story from 2 days ago, but this young lady is going to be, they're going to file charges on her, and rightfully so, if she assaulted this teacher. Now, the teacher may potentially lose her job, especially if they were fighting, which I feel like if somebody hit you, you should hit them back. That's just how I see it. Because when those kids in high school, hell, they probably bigger than half the teachers, probably weigh just as much as the teachers. And when you're getting in the face and you're doing all of that, there's just no more boundaries. So maybe that's why I'm not a high school teacher. I don't think I could do it. I applaud anybody who's in the education field who take their time, especially the ones who really want to see the students succeed and do all they can to try to make them have a real positive experience while they're at school. I applaud them. But that kind of work is not for everybody. It's not. Facing criminal charges. Now, the teacher has a broken leg. She could potentially lose her job if she was fighting with a student. Can you imagine the trauma the lady could be going through at her age, getting assaulted, having a broken leg? You know, as we get older, we don't heal as fast. That's a lot that lady is getting ready to go through with the broken leg. You don't know what kind of insurance she has. You know, I guess that would be considered workers' comp though, because her injuries were, she sustained her injuries while she was at work. So she probably could file that on workers' comp. But I'm going to keep trying to follow this story to see if it's the same young lady we saw who cut a fool in that classroom the other day with her teacher, because both of these girls were high school age. So we'll see. I'm a huge fan of Club Shay Shay. If you don't know what Club Shay Shay is, and I look at Undisputed, that's with Shannon Sharp. I told you I like sports. Shannon Sharp has his own show on YouTube, and it's called Club Shay Shay. He always interviews a plethora of people, from sports entertainers, comedians, uh, regular entertainers, everybody. Well, I haven't looked at the video. I just caught a snippet, and I probably listened to the interview while I'm at work tomorrow, where he was interviewing Chad Ochocinco. And the little snippet I saw, Chad Ochocinco said that that he has saved 83% of all of his earnings from the NFL. Now, when I listen to it in its entirety tomorrow, I'll be able to go into a little more depth. But I wrote down, he said that he was able to save 83. Let me make sure I read that right. He saved 83% of his income by not splurging and buying a lot of name brand stuff while he was in the NFL. Yeah, teachers calling the parents on the phone not gonna stop something if somebody busting you in your mouth and you can't talk to the parent. You gotta do so. You gotta get them kids up off you. I'm a firm, but you got. I, I'm telling you, that's a job for a special type of person to really deal with that. Because I know that has to be a lot dealing with those kids. And now these kids have all this outside influence and all this stuff going on. Ugh, that's a whole nother story. We talked about that yesterday. He said that he didn't buy all of that stuff to splurge, and that's how he was able to save most of his money. And he was talking about a watch, and I'm just going to use, mind you, I'm not a watch person. I have this on. This just a little Fitbit, and I only wear this because it was given to me as a gift. but I'm not into watches. So I'm gonna throw out a name of a watch, and it may not be that expensive, but we're gonna act like it is. Like Invictus. I know Invictus, and I could be saying the name wrong, but I know that's a popular watch that people like to wear. So let's just say Shannon Sharp had on a watch, an Invictus that cost $35,000. I'm just throwing it out there. And so he asked Shannon, "What time is it?" And Shannon was like, "Oh, it's 2 o'clock." And Ocho Cinco asked him that just to let him say, "You know what? And I have on a, let's just say, a little Timex, and it's 2 o'clock over here too." So he pretty much let him know time is time. You can't buy the time. So when you spend all that money on a watch, you could be doing something else with that money, because this little cheap watch is still going to stay the same time. So basically, he was saying that a lot of these people are just spending all their money on name brand. And Shannon Sharp brought up something about flying private. He was like, "Man, I ain't flying private. I'm still gonna get to the same destination. I'm gonna jump on the Spirit, not the Spirit. What you call it? Sprint? No, is it Spirit? I think it's Spirit." He was pretty much saying he's going to jump on a Spirit or whatever, because he's going to get to the same destination in the same amount of time, and he's not going to be spending up all of his money. So I said I'm going to be really interested to watch all of the Ocho Cinco interview with Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay. Okay, it was Spirit. He was saying he ride on Spirit. Now I ain't gonna lie, I rode Spirit one time. I said I'd never jump on them jokers again. I didn't like that. I felt like we were cramped up. I didn't like the fact that you have to pay for your luggage. Then you have your luggage all on the floor because you're trying to pull stuff out so you can get to the minimum weight. I say no. You could have at least do Southwest. Now I'm not doing Spirit again. Like I think we did Spirit when we went to. I think we flew into Fort Lauderdale or Miami. I don't remember which one, but I'm thinking it was Fort Lauderdale. We the flight was a lot less expensive, but I say never again. I don't want that. Get somebody else to do it. I'm not. Have any of y'all ever rolled Spirit out there? I hit all my topics already. He was very smart with his money. Yeah. And you know what? And I think that's what he gonna get around to. Again, I didn't watch it all, but I heard him say something about newer, younger players or something like that. And you know, with some of these older players, the ones who were able to save their money and the ones who just hit rock bottom and went broke, they actually ought to have them come back and talk to those new players when they sign on to these professional teams, so that they can listen to somebody who's been where they are, and you can see where you may potentially end up if you don't handle your finances right. Yes, Spirit only for 4 hours only. He said he saved 83%. Yeah, I saw that because I wrote that down. He said 83%. Sanyel, you like looking at Club Shay Shay? What's your opinion on the Memphis cop situation? We kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday. Oh, that's what I wrote that. I put that somewhere, but I'm glad, E. Sally, that you put that on here. You know why? I saw today that the cop name was Demetrius somebody. I wrote it down and I don't even have it. The, I wrote it. I can't find it right now. But that cop name is Demetrius somebody. He was one of the five. Come to find out, his baby's mama, he has one child, and his ex-girlfriend, she worked with Tyree Nichols at FedEx. Supposedly, now this is all alleged, what I'm getting ready to say, because I wasn't there. I don't know this to be a fact. Tyree could have been fooling around with his ex-girlfriend, who is the baby's mama. And when Tyreek was on the ground after they beat him, he took pictures of Tyree and texted her the pictures of him on the ground. And it has come all out that he did all of that. You know, I say, ooh, this technology is something else. They can find out everything you do. So can you imagine the other four men who worked with him? Now they done got their whole life crossed up. They going to the pen behind some jealous baby daddy bullshit. It's all on. That was on the internet today. They were, yeah, it is sickening when you just have no regard for the other another human being's life, and you just in the moment, just doing in the moment, getting ready to go spend years in a cell with Uncle Buster. Can you imagine? And if you're a woman, you going in there with what they call them, Big Bertha. That's what they call them in the pen, Big Bertha. Can you imagine doing some mess like that? Now you are going to jail. behind a dude and a possible jealousy over a woman. Uh, Thank you for everybody who came over tonight. I appreciate it. I really do. And I'm gonna go ahead and end this live. We talked about our few topics. You know, I don't keep you long over here. We just talk and we hop on off of here. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Probably same time, about 7:15, 7:30. Yeah, we've been on here about an hour and a few minutes, so that's good. That's good. And I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good day. It's supposed to be extra cold out there. It's supposed to be raining and storming here. I don't know where you are, but here in Houston, it's supposed to be storming tomorrow. So everybody be safe out there on the road, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Bye.